So I had every intentions on discussing something, but then I thought about it, and I want to make a redirection because sometimes when you are planning things and then a simple thought and how it affects others and the information that you unravel and just having an epiphany in the moment. You might have to shift gears right then. What's up, blessed ones? You are now blaring the podcast. Brought to you by AB1 Studios. Thank you for your time. Listening. You wanna know something else, blessed ones? So, I'm not one to do my due diligence as I should all the time, especially when it comes to certain topics, because I always say that my podcast, it's for you. It's for the listeners. I want everyone to participate. I can't stress that enough. And the fact that it is about you and giving y'all entertainment, information, and insight. I don't want to make this a gossip column. Like I say all the time, nothing wrong with redirection, reinventing yourself, rebranding. And I do that all the time because there are certain times where, maybe something is on my mind that I want to share with you. Maybe there's some information that I want to express, get my insight and share my views and opinions on it, but it is mainly about you, the listeners. Because to be honest, I know my thoughts. I know what I think. I know how I feel. And when I'm sharing that, when I'm doing the podcast, when I'm doing music, when I'm writing, creating something, I'm doing it to share with you all for engagement. Okay? Because I was originally going to discuss the Carly Russell situation and the woman who got arrested in Dubai. But because I am a man who believes time is of the essence, I think on this nice Saturday, I will share y'all with something else. Last time y'all heard me, I was discussing the submarine Titanic Voyager, and I have started to do episode prior or like right after prior to this, but things happen. Since then, I have been on vacation. I have released another soundtrack, and I want to talk about time, because I think even though we know we can't get time back, we still yet take it for granted. Like I said, with the time that I've been doing podcasting, some will say I should have more episodes. Some should say I should be pro, already like professional podcasting, have better sound quality, better content, or more, you know, reach to a certain level. But to me, I think when we start comparing, because comparison is sometimes helpful, but when we focus on what other people are doing while we are doing what we do, that is a waste of time because everything doesn't go the same way like everybody else does. I was having a conversation with my friend the other day, and and actually yesterday as well, I was talking as far as like just because people are different, that it doesn't negate, accountability of things. It's like if I share with you some insight on a particular situation from experience, usually some people might say, well, just because it happened to you don't mean it won't happen to me. And although that's true, because you cannot project and you cannot predict, what the universe is going to say, but I say this all the time, nothing new is under the sun. So you have to take that into account, that you have to make sure when you have information, you share it, because then the people who receive that information can have a fair sense of choices. So whatever decision they make after you've given them the information will be on them, because I do feel like people are responsible for one another. I do feel like without that responsibility, there can't be any accountability. It's like we waste a lot of time on social media, partying, gossiping, doing all these things, but then as soon as someone comes along and try to give you game or give you insight or even be positive in a sense that might some people will take as belittling instead of empowering, but it's like, no, you have to share it. If you're going to use social media for your form of entertainment, that's fine, but don't be out here trying to disrespect and dismiss people who are using it for messages. I remember someone telling me sometimes that can be a big part of people because when I use my platforms to, share positive and insight and good things, and like it's almost coming off as judgment. And I know people sometimes get on social media to escape. And for a long time I thought about it, and then I was like, hold on. This is my page. If you have a problem with what I say, then maybe it's not for you. Because you can't please everyone. And because you can't please anyone, you have to find your circle. One of my dad's friends said something one time before. It's like, hey, if you're looking for support if you're expecting support from your friends and family, sometimes maybe you just have to go where you're appreciated. Go to the people who appreciate you. And it is true that, you know, we find more love in strangers than those that we care for. Because we all take people for granted because they're always going to be there. And that's what I'm saying, even with time, because time is always going to be here. So we feel like because it's always going to be here, then we have time. Do we really know how long we have? Do we really know how old the universe is? We all have our faiths. We all have our truths. We all have our opinions. I always say, I'm big on, living your life to the best of your ability, but life is also a privilege. And I think we should seize the opportunity. Like, I'm not saying that we're not able to express our opinions and give our insights. We joke and play and judge all the time, in a sense, just for conversation's sake. But the way that I want to live my life is the same way I want to give my life. And when I say that, I say, as I always said, and be positive, be productive, prosperous. And because of my faith, because of my being and the life that I lived, I know that I'm not going to get it right all the time. But I'm going to always try to be positive, be uplifting, be encouraging. I'm going to have my moments. I know that, but I still have to be an example of what I'm trying to share. Even when it comes to certain things that I listen to, certain things that I put out myself, certain environments that I'm around. Because as a father, it's important. As a brother, it's important. As a friend, it's important. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that I'm holier than thou. And I know I have my episodes that might be talking about certain topics that isn't as positive as the other. Because again, it's still just me sharing my insight, my information. It's out in the universe now. I'm having these pains in my chest. I say my heart. And it makes me sometimes realize again how how good God is. because I say this before. There's been times when I thought I wasn't going to see tomorrow. There was times when I thought I wasn't going to see my son. I was going to wake up to my son. There was times when nobody, like I would not, like I would. It's just a lot. And I feel myself going on another tangent, going off topic. So let me get back on this, on topic. I have plans. I have intentions. Those plans are expected. Those intentions are good. But I think the most important thing that I provide is my grace. Because I do want to give people grace. So even with this situation with Carly Russell, I'm not telling you what to do, but I do want to say that, I want to give her grace for whatever the whole backstory and reasoning for what she did. Give her that grace because, like I say, sometimes we don't know what people's going through. I do believe that we can wake up one day just wanting to just be reckless. Why? Because it has happened to me. And I've seen it happen to other people. Like sometimes we can't even explain some of the things that we do. Not saying that we don't have control over what we do, but sometimes we just have like sometimes our impulses are just too much to overcome. And for the woman who got arrested in Dubai, free her because I do feel like, and I don't say that lightly, free her because with the information that I do have, it's almost as if she wasn't aware of where she was as far as laws wise. I've said this before. When you're traveling to a place that you're not familiar with, more in the sense of where you don't live, because even places that you live at, you don't know all the laws and stuff. But I think when you're from another country, because apparently this was a British woman, but the whole thing is when you're in another country, you have to do your due diligence. It's just like when you go, like, we have to be who we are. But that goes again to saying everything's not for everybody. If you're someone who is very fluid with what you wear, man, that you dress down, chest all out, legs out, everything showing. If you're in if you're in a certain environment, who you're someone who does that, then and you do it all the time, even like on cold days, then certain places you probably shouldn't go. But hey, they said you only live once, but it is what it is. But just let me share this. Again, this episode, this show is for the people. I always say, even if you don't like it or share it, just please leave feedback, questions, suggestions, requests, because I do want to continue to bring a different narrative. This proof those narratives that are false. Because I know we sometimes look at things as like consider what the masses. Because of course, when men and women say, "Hey, niggas and they ain't shit or whatever," we know they're not talking about everybody. Well, at least I would think that when someone says that they're not talking about everyone, maybe in their experience, maybe within their environment. Because again, like even when it comes to relationships, we have to know who we're dealing with. I don't believe in wasting time, but I do believe that we underestimate and overestimate certain things, certain people, certain situations because of ourselves. We can overestimate ourselves, we can underestimate ourselves, but we might overestimate and underestimate people because of what we think, because of our arrogance. But what I will say lastly, because once again I had other intentions, I want y'all to remember that no matter what goes on in life, no matter what goes on in your life, in the world, God is real. And yes, I do believe in Jesus Christ. But closing, remember to have grace. Because even when you take accountability for the things that you do, whether it's right after or months or years later, we all need grace. Be what you live and be what you give. Stay safe, prosperous, productive, and positive. This is Blair, and I'm out.